know that out there, I know that out there.
We are live. Welcome to another episode. I've got to turn my music down. I have a tendency to do that these past few days. Just keep playing music, and then I'm like, I'm going live, and I'm like, oh, I should turn my music down. Okay, so welcome to another episode of Pillow Talk with Kate, with yours truly, Catherine Eipel, as the host, me. And today we're going to talk about the psychology behind affairs and whether or not it's a self-sabotaging behavior and how you just one finds themselves in an affair. And I will be sharing my experiences, and I just want to preface that I have written about my experiences. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen them. If you haven't seen them, you can fall down the rabbit hole that is my Instagram and find the instances where I've written about them. But I haven't actually shared this stuff live. This is a first for me. It's a little bit more vulnerable of a topic than what I was expecting to do, and it's a little unpromptu. So this is also going to be the last live that I do of Pillow Talk with Kate, and then I'm going to go back to the original format, which is filmed, and I've got characters, just to make it a little bit more fun. But for today, I want to just be real, raw, and honest, because affairs, it's a tough topic. It's taboo and no one really wants to talk about it. There's a lot of shame and guilt associated with it. I know, because I've had I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off. I've found myself in 3 different affairs throughout my 30 years of life, and 2 of them were at the same time. And so I'll get into that later on. The reason why I wanted to talk about affairs is because I believe it was on Tuesday I made a Instagram post. Hold on. No, I'm not drinking coffee. This is licorice and a smidge of peppermint tea that I actually made at 2 p.m. today, and it's still warm. But it was scorching hot when I first made it. So, I'm drinking it now. And, alright, the reason we're talking about affairs today is because I made a post on Tuesday where I, again, just said that I know what it's like because I've found myself in 2 different affairs at the exact same time. And here I was in a monogamous relationship at the time, so hence why I'm a little vulnerable and nervous to share this topic with everyone who's watching, who will see this. This is not something I can say these things with a smile on my face and not cry about it now, because this was years ago, and it actually took me a very long time to, 1, come to terms with that I even did that, and that was a time and moment in my life. And 2nd, I've cried so much about it, and I've purged myself of it. I've also had conversations with all the parties that were involved, separately, some multiple times, some once, and some of them just never want to talk to me again, but I also don't want to talk to them again. So, but I've done the work to leave that stuff in the past, and I know that that's not who I am now. So that's why I can say this without the waterworks coming and wavering, because when I speak about it now, it's hard for me to think even that I was at a state in my life that I was doing that sort of behavior, because I don't resonate. I don't resonate with who I was anymore when I was doing those things. So that's all part of the growth process. And after I made that post on Instagram, I actually received a request for a coaching call because I had mentioned I had affairs. And that was one of the things she wrote. This person wrote, I will say she because, yes, I also work with men, but the majority of my clients are women. And I feel like if you follow me enough, you know that about me. So I'm not giving anything away by just using the pronoun she. So she had said that she wanted to speak to me because she was drawn to the fact that I openly stated that I had had affairs, and she hadn't met anyone who was in a state to talk about it. And over our call, we dove into a lot of different topics, and one of the things she asked was whether or not I think affairs are a self-sabotaging behavior. And I said, so I loved that question, and it's a slippery slope, right? So I do think, yes, they can be a self-sabotaging behavior. Does it start out that way necessarily? I must say no. And here's why I'm going to say that. I also just want to say I'm doing this live because I know that if I were to talk about this and film it and then edit it, I would edit out a lot of parts that I just think are probably, that I know are going to help people, just to kind of save myself that vulnerability there. So that's why I'm doing it live, because I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to hit end stream and just post it, and it's going to be there. And yeah, so whatever happens, and it's meant, whoever sees it, they're meant to see it. So if at any point you're watching this and the things that I say really strike a chord, or you feel compelled, DM me. I will put the ways that you can contact me below in the details after all this. Or if you're really feeling gutsy, you can put it in the comments. But if I was having an affair years ago and I saw this video, I would not be posting this shit in the comments. But hey, we're all different people. So back to it. This lady, she asked if I thought that affairs were self-sabotaging behavior. And yes, I do think they absolutely 100% can be self-sabotaging behaviors. But does it start out that way? I don't think it does. At least not for everyone. And everyone is different. Everyone has a different story. And I'm speaking from firsthand experience for myself, and also what I know that I've seen with clients, what I've helped them through, and also family members that I have worked with. So, yeah. In my experience, an affair, typically you don't troll looking for an affair. You're not on Google being how do I get into an affair? I'm going to go to this website and just start looking. Some people may do that, and that's going to be a topic for another time. I'm not going to touch on that right now. Again, another time. in my instance, was not looking for this, either one. And I found myself in, like I said, two different affairs, and I'm gonna preface one was a physical affair. Yes, there were feelings involved with that affair as well, which made it hard to end and hard to want to quit, because there were those feelings. And the other one was a purely emotional relationship that I found myself in, and we did not like touch. We would barely even hug at times. Like we didn't hold hands, we never kissed, we didn't do any of that. But that person was in a we were both in monogamous relationships. The guy who I was in the emotional affair with, we both had our significant others. And whenever there was an issue in our respected relationships, the two of us would come and like vent to each other about it. And then we built up this like rapport, and both of our significant others were picking up on this, and we're like, oh, we're just like friends. And at the time, that's really what I thought it was. And then like years later, things kind of came to light in a very different way. And then I was like, holy fuck. So yeah, that was an affair. And so I was having that emotional affair, and then I was also in this physical affair, and the guy, he was married, had a significant other, and was also a family man. So those aspects play in. Now, like I said, I wasn't looking for this, either one, but I found myself in those instances because my current relationship was lacking in those areas. And I didn't know that until these other things, these other options were presented to me, because I didn't. That relationship, I really, really, really cared and loved for the person that I was with, but we had a disconnect emotionally, and I always wanted to go a little bit deeper and into my feelings and the feelings surrounding a relationship, and my partner wasn't meeting me even halfway. So that was something that took a toll on me. And then here I had this really good friend, this confidant that I could confide in and who was there for me. And I was the same for him as well. So that escalated into its emotional affair. It did not start that way, but it just kind of like elevated with everything the two of us were going through in that time. And then the physical affair happened because I didn't feel desirable to my partner. I didn't feel like he looked at me in a desirable way. And it was very much just like a systematic thing, or so it felt to me. And I'm a very passionate person, and I didn't realize that I was missing that or even lacking it until this other guy showed up in my life and literally just like showed me that was possible. And so that's how those things kind of showed up naturally in my life. So when you find yourself in those instances and you find yourself in an affair, it's often because you are lacking something in your current relationship, whether or not you know it or you're even coming to terms with it and accepting it. So I knew that my current relationship wasn't best. And then those things happen, and when that happens, you don't necessarily know what to do. And I was also in a very sad place in my life. I was going through a possible career change at the time because I was coming to terms with the fact that I didn't necessarily like the line of work that I had gotten myself into. And I was just going with the motions because I had been trained in it and given more of a decade of my life to that type of work, and wasn't ready to give up, but at the same time, I also wasn't fulfilled in that career. And I also didn't have a close knit, supportive friend group. I had coworkers and acquaintances and a few close friends that I had from school and just like other work avenues that I would hang out on occasion. And when I would hang out with my coworkers, it would always just be like going to a bar after work, waiting for the traffic to like die down before we could all go to our respected places. And that was very toxic because the work environment I was in, super fucking toxic. And then we all get together, all of us coworkers, sad employees in this toxic environment, get together drinking. So we're venting and complaining about the day and drowning our sorrows in booze. And that's not a healthy behavior. That was very toxic. And that was something that I did for years. And that's also how one of the affairs started. And I felt so alone. I was very unhappy in a lot of areas in my life, and I didn't have people that I could go in and confide in, because even my like close friends I felt judgment from, and a lot of those people I actually don't talk to anymore. Um, and it's not because I dislike them, because I don't. It's just that we're in different parts of we're just in different lives now, and I don't resonate with where they're at, and they don't feel the vibe that I'm at. And so no hard feelings with them. And now I know that I wouldn't get into an affair because I have so many supportive people in my life. And I've literally revamped my whole entire friend group practically, and I have like the best tribe of friends and soul sisters and soul brothers. And it's like I know that if I really got into a very sad place, I have so many people that would catch my back. And that's another reason why you can fall into affairs, is because you don't have a support system. You don't feel like you have a safe space to vent and share your feelings openly and be open and vulnerable with people without being judged. Because I didn't even think, I know I didn't have that in any of the relationships I was in. And yes, you're probably like, but Kate, you just said that you had an emotional affair. Couldn't you talk to that person? And I actually couldn't. I could talk to them about my relationship and their relationship and work shit, but there was just a lot of things that I couldn't tell that person and that I needed to hold back. Or I don't know if I needed to hold back, but I did hold back because I didn't feel safe, and I felt that there were topics that were off limit. And I know that there were. So not having a solid support system can also be a reason to have an affair. And I want to go back to initiating an affair or going into an affair because you are feeling neglected in some area of your relationship. So when an affair opportunity presents itself and someone is telling you how much they want you and how beautiful you are and how sexy you are, and you're like, I'm not even freaking doing anything. I'm just like, I'm being me. Like, you're seeing me throughout like various parts throughout my work career, and that is like, it's kind of nice to be seen in that way, in that environment, from an outsider. And then when you start these affairs, like once you cross that boundary, because it all happens, we're humans, we don't, emotions, first of all, feelings aren't logical. Like, you can't be logical with your emotions, because you're gonna like who you like, and you're gonna be drawn to the people that you're drawn to, and we thrive on that. So when we start to get a spike of dopamine and endorphins from our feelings, we are going to lean the fuck in, especially if you're in a sad, depressive, upsetting place in your life. You're just going to go into it because you're going to feel so good. It's going to be an adrenaline rush for you, and you're going to want to, you lean into it. And then once you get over the adrenaline rush, the misery sets in. You're like, what the fuck did I do? And it becomes a constant battle. I mean, depending on what your moral code is. Because for me, it was a constant battle when I realized the scope and that I was in it. I can't tell you how many times I tried to end them. Like, there were multiple long conversations about how these things couldn't happen again. And then that conversation would end and things would happen again. And in the moment, in the heat of it all, it feels great because nothing else freaking matters except the two people right then and there. And then it ends, and then reality sinks in, and it hits you hard. And it hits you hard, almost worse, every single fucking damn time. And if you've never been in an affair, I don't recommend that you do it, because no one should have to experience this. But it is very common. And I know this because I've done research on it. And when I was going through this time in my life, I was questioning a lot about lust versus love, and whether or not you can actually have unconditional love. And this leads into another larger reason as to why you can get into affairs. The way relationships have been framed in our society with the media, we have been told to believe that each relationship we're in, whether it's a romantic relationship, platonic, or relationship with family, all comes with a set of rules, right? And it's like the ground rules. Like, you're in a romantic relationship with so-and-so. You need to do this and be completely faithful to them and only them. And then if you have a wavering eye at all, then you are already cheating and have done wrong and blah, blah, blah. It shall be a 50-50 with that person at all times. First of all, Nothing can truly be 50-50. Hold on, I need some tea. I might start talking fast because I've already been talking for 25 minutes. I don't want this to be such a long episode. I say this about all my episodes, and then they're like 45 minutes, an hour. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a Scorpio. I make a lot of pauses in my speech patterns for dramatic effect and also to catch my breath and like drink tea. And then when I get really excited, I also talk really fast. So you have these conditions that society's more or less placed on this relationship. And then you get really hard on yourself because you're like, fuck, I was looking at that person and I like that person across the table is really fucking hot. And, like, does this mean I'm cheating because I'm looking at someone? And so you get really hard on yourself and you beat yourself up. You don't feel it's safe to tell your partner, so you don't tell your partner. And then these things build up. And then before you know it, you've found yourself in this affair. And first off, as humans, humans aren't actually designed to be 100% faithful. I'm just going to take a deep breath and let that sink in for a second. And if you don't believe me, that's fine. Do research. Go into ancient civilizations and research the relationship dynamic in ancient times in whichever civilization you want to pick. What I did, I started writing a paper on it for just my own clarity. Yeah, I was writing my own research paper about marriage and the relationship norms in ancient times and about marriage. So first of all, marriage was never actually something that was done out of love. It was something done as a compromise, either between different families to bridge a gap and come to a compromise and understanding, or for the two families to work together and be like, well, you have this land and I have the animals that you want for livestock, but if we can make an agreement with our families, then we'll have our livestock live on your land and you can profit. Will let you share our livestock because you're giving us the land for that. And that's what it started about. So it wasn't always about love. And because of that, there was always a lot of marriages that had mistresses. And I want to come up with a really good term for a male mistress. I call them misters, which doesn't make sense because you have that's what you just call a man. You address them as a mister. So I do male mistress or MM. Then it was like the candy, and yeah. So you see it anyway. I'll figure that out on my own. Or if any of you guys have ideas, drop them in the comments. So it was common for married couples to have their own mistresses. And it was maybe your spouse knew about it and maybe they didn't, but it was something that was just expected. And people knew it, and that happened a lot in medieval times. And marriage was also a way to unite countries, looking at royal bloodlines. And I think royal families are gonna be faithful. Find me one royal family that was faithful to each other without having sex with their servants or their mistresses. And that's another thing is orgies, man. So if you were married, you'd have orgies with your spouses there, and you're not sleeping with your spouse. So humans, by design, are actually not designed to be faithful to one person for their entire life. Some people can be, and that's fucking great. You should take great pride in that. And that's what you should strive for in your relationships if they are monogamous. Some people have open relationships and believe in the whole polyamory aspect. That'll be another topic another time. Here's strictly affairs, and affairs are monogamy. So we're only going to talk about the monogamous relationships. And so with that said, in modern society, we put a whole ton of pressure on ourselves to be faithful. And when we start to have a wandering eye, this is actually going to be another topic that I'm planning another pillow talk on, and I'll go more into it because it's an instinctual thing. It's in our instincts to not be faithful, like to have multiple partners, and having one partner for a lifetime goes against our natural instinct. And that's a main reason why so many people find themselves in affairs. Does that justify it? No, I'm not saying that. So I don't want anyone to think that like this is carte blanche to get into an affair, because my advice to anyone who hasn't entered an affair and you're like this close, you have the person, you've been talking to the person, and you're like, oh, the next time I see him, I could totally see how it could go that way. My advice to you, don't see that person. Talk to your partner and say, look, this is how I'm feeling. That's going to be a rough conversation to have. Yeah, 100%, 1000%. It's not going to be easy. But after, in hindsight, 2020, what I know now, I would have preferred to not entered into those affairs and handled it differently and talked to my partners and been like, hold up, something's not right because I'm about ready to cheat on you with so-and-so. So like either we need to like fix this or it's time to like call our relationship because it's just not right. So that's my advice to anyone who is like about ready to start an affair, but like trying not to. Grow a pair. Set down your phone, stop texting, sexting the other person, and have that talk with your partner and be like, look, just being real and honest with you, this is where I'm at. And like, tell them how you feel. I don't want to put words in your mouth about them and what you're thinking about the relationship. Honesty is the best policy, and the truth isn't always pretty. Sometimes the truth is freaking ugly, and I feel like everyone in the world right now can resonate with that statement, given everything that's going on with the pandemic,